All four of the tools in this section, the Add Background, Add Vase, Add Flowers, and Ceramic Portrait, all four of these are similar in that they just import files. So we'll talk about all four of these in one video here. The first of which we'll do Add Vase. So when you click on that button, it imports a vase file for you. This is a 6 by 10 inch turned vase. You can change that to whatever you want. 6 by 10 would be a bit too big for this design, so I can go ahead and change that to 4 by 10. As long as I've got snapping on, and I can tell that snapping's on because of the way the text is popping up there. You can also see it here, Snap to Objects. Since I have Snap to Objects on, I can hover over the midpoint here and then click and drag to the edge. You'll see how it says edge, and then let go. That way it's lined up along the base of the stone there. Then I can simply mirror that to the other side. So I can hit M or Mirror Objects, and it asks me what to mirror on, so I'll go ahead and click on the die. That way I've got a vase on either side here. Flowers does the same thing. If I just click on Add Flowers, it brings in flowers. One difference is that when it brings in the flowers, the flowers are behind everything else, so it's the very bottom of the stack, and that's so that as we bring them over here, they'll be behind the flower vase and look like they're inside the vase. Otherwise it would be over the top of the vase. But I can go ahead and mirror that as well. That way I've got flowers on either side. I'll bring in a background. If I just click on Add Background, that will bring in a background file, and now I will zoom to all to see the rest of the background here. The background file itself is changeable, as well as the vases and the flowers. Those are all changeable if you edit the original files. But what I'll do is also show you that if you hold down Control and click on the Add Background button, then it brings in a second background or a different file. So there are two different background files, and I will delete this first blue one, and we'll be able to see this other one that was brought in second. And so I'll go ahead and show you those in Explorer where they're at. Under your Documents, MemorialDESIGNER, and then Import, that's where those files are located. So we have BK1 is the dark background, BK2 is that light background, Vase is the vase, flowers are those flowers that we brought in, and then Power Clip is actually the ceramic. So we'll talk about that here in a second. If we open up any one of these files, we can edit them to whatever we wanted, and so you could throw in a cemetery background, or you could do your own sort of custom logo, or you could even have background 1 as one thing, background 2 is maybe your footer information that had the size of the stone and your copyright and all that information on there, so you could import even both of those together. But that's how you would edit those, is just to come in here and choose whatever one you want to edit, open it up, and then save over the original. We'll go back here, and let's go ahead and just get rid of that and bring in the original background one. And the last thing that we'll talk about is Ceramic Portrait. So if I click on that, what it does is it brings in a 9 by 12 centimeter oval that has a contour applied to it to the outside, so that way it will simulate what it would look like with your sandblasted area around your oval. And if you were to, have a white border around that picture. So if we put this picture on here, at the size that it is, it's too big, but they also are a couple, so I would more than likely click off and click back on here. That way I can rotate it 90 degrees. It's still a little bit too big to fit in this area that we've got. So what I'm going to do is move the Howard up a little bit. But I can't grab Howard and its outline, because that outline, since we had beveled it before, is part of that entire beveled outline for everything. And so instead of just selecting with the pick tool, what we'll have to do is a little bit different. I typically have my nudge set at 0.25 inches. That way, if I nudge up, every time I click the up arrow, it will go up by 1/4 of an inch. So I just did that 4 times, and that went up by an inch. However, you can also hold down Shift and click, and it would do a double nudge or a super nudge, or you can hold down Control and click, and that would do half of a nudge. So that way, just by holding down nothing, Control, or Shift, you can go 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and half of an inch, depending on how you click. I'll just back up here since I don't remember how many clicks I did. And this time I will hold Shift and do 2 clicks up, and that way it's gone up by an inch. So that moves the text up, but in order to get the beveled section to move up, you can't use the pick tool. What we can do, however, is use the shape tool. So we'll take the shape tool, and this time select all of those nodes, and we'll just click up the same amount. So I'm holding down Shift and clicking twice, and that will go up by the inch. That way we've got room for our picture, and it's not running into the word at all. The special thing about this oval is that it is set to be a power clip frame. So if I were to go and import a picture, I'll show you what happens here. When I click on the import button, I can go and find my pictures that I've got saved on here. Pictures. And I'll just grab a couple and import them in. I'll throw it off to the side to begin with. But the thing about power clips is that all you have to do is click on your picture and drag, and as I hover over this, it says add to power clip frame, or hold F to ignore the power clip frame. I don't want to ignore it, so I'm just going to release my mouse button, and since that is set as a power clip frame, it automatically fits inside that oval. If I wanted to edit that power clip now, I could just by clicking on these buttons that appear at the bottom here, and I could even say fit or fill frame proportionately, and you'll see how that then fits into the oval even better. So that's a quick way to bring in a picture, throw it into an oval, and simulate what a ceramic would look like on your design. Now that we've got that done, I'm just going to throw a granite fill back on here. Okay, so now we've got our proof with a background. Like I said before, you could change this copyright information or change it to whatever you wanted it to be. I'll zoom in here just so that we can see this a little bit nicer. But we've got the bevels applied, we have the ceramic, we've got our vases, we've got our flowers. Everything looks pretty nice, and that's a good looking proof. So to send it out to our customer, it's as simple as coming up to here and clicking on the JPEG export button.